think I spent $800 to get the last new candidate through Indeed.
Hiring the right people will get you to the next level.
And ultimately the goal is to be able to step out. That's why I started the business originally.
What's going wrong? Like, where's the bottleneck?
It does work out. It's just, it doesn't feel like there's any consistency.
The year I did this, I made an extra $500,000 because we were able to hire smarter. If you're a business owner struggling to hire great employees, or maybe there's just a little bit of room for improvement in your process, sit in on my masterclass happening right now where I coach Drew from Prairie Maids of Dallas. We go over the hiring funnels and automations that allowed me to hire home cleaners that were 10 times better, 10 times faster. The year I did this, I made an extra $500,000 because we were able to hire smarter. This interview is filled with golden nuggets, and I literally walk through the entire process, the questions I ask in the interviews, the automations I set up, how I'm working with Indeed to maximize the leads I get. This is filled with golden nuggets. Stay till the end. Let's get into it. Cool. All right. Well, welcome, Drew. Thanks for jumping on with me. Now, you had found me through the YouTube channel, through Facebook. How did you get in contact?
I think I originally found you. We'd actually spoken like 4 or 5 years ago through Facebook Messenger. I think maybe the Launch 27 Facebook group is how I originally found you. I just was impressed with your site and your personality. And I don't know. I'm not really sure how I found you again. I was Googling hiring, and you must have some good SEO on your YouTube site because your video with Brunson came up.
Cool.
So that's how I kind of reconnected. I thought about reaching out to you again.
Love that. Yeah, I love Brunson too. Awesome. So fill me in about kind of where you are, the stage of business that you're in. So how much, just for the audience, you're in the cleaning business, right?
Yeah, residential cleaning with a little bit of commercial. We're
Cool.
in the Dallas.
Residential, a little bit of commercial. And now the question is about hiring. The things that we want to cover is what makes a good hire and how to automate hiring for people listening. Stay till the end because we're going to kind of touch on all of that stuff. But what I want to know from you is a little bit more specifically, what stage of business are you in right now? How much money are you making as a whole?
Yeah, last year we did a little over 250,000 in revenue. And right now, depending on how much I can do with hiring, how much I can do with advertising, we're on track for 400,000. I'm optimistic that can be increased as well. This will be about the 5-year anniversary coming up.
So we're going to get to 500K. We're at 250K. And so there's this rule, right? This rule of tens and threes, where every like 300,000, I'm going to break it down a little bit more, 100,000, 300,000, a million, 3 million, 10 million, every like 10 and 3 that you come in up against when you're growing in terms of general revenue, you hit this next kind of weird phase where you get stuck, and that 250,000 to 300,000 is one of those. So I have a feeling you're probably feeling some of this pressure, like and you're asking about hiring. So I think that might be the sticking point or the funnel for you, where the bottleneck, I guess. Talk to me about the hiring process, like what's working for you, what's not working for you, and what does it look like right now?
Yeah, we're using Indeed, and it feels very much like we're at the mercy of what Indeed's giving us. Yep. And it does work out. It's just, it doesn't feel like there's any consistency. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of, if I need a new hire, I'm just kind of hoping and praying that this batch of the new posts that I post in Indeed is going to bring good candidates. Or if I'm desperate, I'll sponsor an Indeed post and I have to throw a lot of money. I think I spent $800 to get the last new candidate through Indeed, which if she works out, it's great, but still a lot to spend. I'd rather not spend it. But there's no automation. It's sorting through everything ourselves, going through a lot of candidates that, even though they check yes to a lot of questions, when we interview them, it turns out they don't actually have transportation or can't pass a background check. And Office will handle the initial interview, and then I'll handle the final interview. And then we'll bring them in for a test clean. If that goes well, then we'll have them shadow a cleaner for a week. That's basically our process right now. It works well enough, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be sustainable. If I want to scale, it's going to take far too much time on my end. And ultimately, the goal is to be able to step out. That's why I started the business originally.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, definitely can't be stepping out yet. Not at the
No,
250,000
no, no,
mark.
no. Yeah.
So break down for me Indeed and how are you using it? Are we, do we just have an Indeed ad that's just running?
Constantly? No.
Okay.
It's just as needed because it's too expensive for me at the moment to run it constantly.
Okay.
But we have an unpaid one, if that's what you mean. Sorry by ad, that is running constantly.
Okay. Okay.
And what typically tends to happen is, I'm sure this is true of everyone on Indeed, it's pretty top heavy. So when we initially post, you get a lot of candidates and that slows down. So then you repost it, then might pick up some momentum again.
When you're posting, how long are you posting for?
For the sponsored or just in general?
Yeah, just in general, the ad.
Okay. Yeah, as long as Indeed allows us until it says, this ad is expired and we need to repost.
Cool. All right. And then when they go through that process, you have them apply, you're using Indeed's platform, and then you have the the office staff interview them, right?
Initial interview, correct.
It's an important question. It's an important thing to ask because the one thing that I have found when I look across everything in my business, whenever I get stuck at one of these like threes or tens, 300,000, a million, 3 million, whatever, you kind of have to pull back the curtain and look at what's going wrong. Like, where's the bottleneck? Or sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's performance or the actual delivering of the service. And I found that if I can't figure out why the company's not growing, it is almost universally because I have the wrong people. So hiring the right people will get you to the next level and will level up. It will level up your business, it'll level up your life. It'll allow you to step out of the business finally. It won't probably happen at 300,000, but it could get pretty close to happening at about 1.5 million, 2 million, where you don't have to be as involved, or you could start working on more fun projects. So let's look at your job ad. Do you have one around that I can find?
If you're going to Indeed yourself, let's see if you can find it. If you're Googling, if you're searching Prairie Maids, I don't know if you'd have to make the specifications for Dallas, Fort Worth, or Arlington, Fort Worth.
Probably. Let's see. Dallas, Texas. It might not come up like that. Let's see if we can find it. Because this will actually be an interesting test.
Okay. Yeah.
As long as you're okay with us kind of going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to not be limited in Indeed as well. Figure out how to set up a hiring questionnaire on my website.
Okay, so job details, benefits. Okay, job description. This is what I want to see. So we got professional housekeeper as the title. And I'm just going to read the job description really quick and we'll kind of download on it. Seeking individuals and or team cleaners to work with one of our best home cleaning companies in Dallas, Fort Worth, Metroplex, to be part of a home cleaning company that cares about you. We're fast growing residential home cleaning company looking for fantastic cleaners to take to the next level. That sounds oddly familiar. Our home cleaning providers are responsible for cleaning our customers' homes according to Prairie Maids checklists. Benefits, flexible schedule, supplemental pay, tips. Okay. When you're selling to a customer, what do you usually focus on with the job, the ad copy?
When I'm selling customer cleaning services?
Yeah. Where do you talk about everything that you want from the relationship with the customer first?
I see what you're saying. No, I don't talk about what I want. All right.
So with this job description that I'm reading, seeking individuals and or team cleaners to work with one of the best home cleaning companies. So you're selling yourself and you're talking about what you want first. With my ads, what I want to do, the first things first is the title. So yours is professional housekeeper. Mine is residential house cleaner, home cleaner, maid, Scottsdale, which is where we're posting the job ad. You want to do two things with this job ad. You are selling. This is your call to action. This is your, getting them interested in clicking. I guess their call to action to click on your ad. So you want to be consistent, and you want to have all the keywords that they could possibly look for, because this is one of the things that ranks high. It helps with your SEO for when they're looking for job ads, and it's going to help with people searching for this type of work. So they may not type in housekeeper, and you don't necessarily have to put professional, because that's sort of like a adjective describing that you're getting paid for it. And I understand, I think, why that's there. But this is what I do: is residential, house cleaner, home cleaner, maid. I'm just getting all those keywords in there. I wouldn't do more than 3, and even doing 3 is probably a stretch, but home cleaner, maid, putting those in there can kind of tell what the job is. And I put residential house cleaner as well, because the people who do the janitorial service or clean for offices is kind of a different breed, in my opinion. And then I'm just going to go down to my description here. So the thing that I try to start with is I am selling this person on applying. So this is sort of the top of the funnel thing that I want to first address is, let's get this ad right and start using it right. And that'll start to funnel into all the other questions, like automating and doing that kind of stuff. So job description: home cleaners ready to join one of Arizona's highest rated home cleaning companies, with the best pay, most flexible hours, and supportive team that has your back. At Tidy Casa, we're not just about cleaning homes. We're about building a team of incredible cleaning professionals who care about their work and the people they work with. Our cleaners are the heart of our business, and we treat them like it. If you're a passionate, detail-oriented cleaner looking for a company that values you, we want to hear from you. So this is all sales copy, right? It is very much, I want to hear from you. We are going to take care of you. We love you. And we're getting all those benefits in there. And then I'm going to talk to them a little bit about Tidy Casa. And this is, all kind of put very strategically. So we're fast growing, and you had that in yours, but that's a kind of a call to, you will have job security. And we're in multiple cities. This is also speaking to the security that you would get coming with us. We built our reputation as Arizona's highest rated home cleaning company by hiring the best and taking care of them. Once again, I'm putting in there that I value you as a cleaner, and I'm going to take care of you. And talking about, like, this is something I say on a lot of interviews. My philosophy is, if I take care of you, you'll take care of the customers. That makes my life easier. So I'm just throwing that out there. Talking about how many houses we're cleaning a week. Once again, we're selling the security, what makes us different. We have your back. We have empathy for you, fair treatment, respect of your time. I think if I could redo this right now, and I haven't looked at this in a while, I'd probably get rid of the word empathy, because that doesn't always, you kind of want to be writing at a first grade reading level. So just critiquing myself, I would probably change that. So then what you'll do, I'm kind of describing the job, sort of the everyday, stuff, what we're looking for. Why work for us? Great pay, flexibility, work-life balance, perks that matter, $200 hiring bonus, respect and support. And, these are the kind of the same thing that you had with your benefits, but your benefits you listed was flexible schedule. So I've got that in here as well: flexibility, work-life balance, no nights, weekends, perks that matter, respect and support. And it goes on to kind of talk like that. But that's one of the biggest things, is we're just getting every question that they could possibly have answered. We're giving them every reason to apply. And this is very much sales copy. We even go in and talk about our core values, why we value people, and then we, end on there's a hiring bonus. So as I'm kind of going through all that, how do you feel about my ad copy versus yours? And are you identifying anything that might be different in what you could do to kind of start selling a little bit more?
I think in mine, I say that, we care about our cleaners to some extent, but in yours, you go into detail about how you care about the cleaners. And it's like you said, you're selling what they're getting first, as opposed to what the expectations are. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest difference I notice.
Yeah. 100% is, we not only want to say, that we care about them, but show them that and tell them why that's important to us. And we're really kind of getting it out there. And not everybody's going to read every line of this, but the people that will, it'll make a big difference for. And if you want to get this and just copy mine, you're more than welcome to. What I would do is just grab that, put it into a ChatGPT, and I would ask ChatGPT to describe the writing style in as much detail as possible. I would say, ChatGPT, take this copy and describe for me the writing style in as much detail as possible. I want to hear the style, the tone, the voice, and the cadence of the writing. I want you to copy all that and describe it to me in as much detail as possible so that I can use this description to write more, or as a ChatGPT prompt, and it'll give you like a page of the writing style. And then you can put in your ad and then say, put it in this style, and it'll redo it for you in that same type of writing style that I'm using. And then you can kind of edit from there. And that'll help you sort of skip over having to start with a new blank canvas and redo it. So that's a little cheat code to get these a little bit faster. So I would start with updating that title, and then updating that job description, and then make sure. So are you paying your cleaners via independent contractors? Are they employees? How does that look?
They're 1099 independent contractors,
Okay.
and they're paid by the job. We advertise that we pay hourly because I think it throws some people off. Paid by the job,
Right.
it gives a little hesitancy, sure.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they're 1099. I initially, when I started the business, my thinking was I wanted to be as hands off. So 1099, just hire people that can clean. That's a little more challenging than I thought it would
Sure.
be. I would love to switch to W-2s, do some more training. Um, but yeah.
I'm pulling this up really quick because, and I like that you're doing 1099s for where you're at. I think you're right. Moving to W-2s in the long run is going to be more effective for you. I also use 1099s. I've done it for long enough that it's very hard to switch. I've tried to switch, but everybody kind of prefers the 1099s right now, which is fine for me. I want to keep them happy. So that's why I'm going with this. But you have on your job ad 20 to 25 per hour. I had something very similar, and I started looking because we were paying a flat rate per job. I
Mhm.
started looking at how fast my cleaners were actually cleaning, and I made an assumption that they were making about $20 an hour. When I actually did the math, they were making closer to 30 to 40 an hour. And I took their kind of check in and check out times on our CRM and looked at the average cleaning time, and they were making way more. So make sure you're taking a look at how much they're actually putting in their pocket and put that in your ad, because this $30 to $40 an hour in my ad is 100% real. We can do that because they're independent contractors, but this also gets me way more clicks, way more leads.
Yeah, you're right. I need to update that. It's probably closer to 30 an hour, especially once they get in a groove of things.
Right. And you would be surprised. I think when you pull the numbers, it might even be the same 30 to 40 that I'm paying. It gets pretty when they're efficient and they're getting paid per job, they can make a lot. So don't leave that on the table, especially if you're paying it. So I would do that as some research as well. And that's kind of my last thing on the ad. Now, with Indeed, the last thing that I want to say is when you post is just about as important as how often. So I always post on Tuesdays, Tuesday morning. It's the first thing that I do. And Tuesday mornings, I go and post my job ad. I only let that job ad run for 3 days, and I do a paid promotion. The reason I only let it run for 3 days is because after about 3 days, it gets stale and we get way less applicants. So, like you and I were searching for your ad specifically, and it took us a while to find it, probably because it was posted 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe longer. But if it's posted within a couple days, it'll be the top. Because Indeed, even if you're paying for a job ad, they will show your ad first based on when it was posted. They want to make a good software for the people that are applying for jobs. That's how it makes it useful for us. So they do that by prioritizing the fresh jobs, not the ones that maybe got hired and somebody forgot to turn it off.
When you say that you're reposting, are you creating an entirely new ad to work with the Indeed algorithm, or do you just pause it, then say reactivate?
Great question.
Yeah.
I close it out and I post a brand new one every time. And the reason I do that, because the algorithm prefers the brand new ones. Because if you pause and then restart, it's just like the same ad from months ago. It does not get the same amount of traction. So you can see these ones that I have open here. When I want to post a new job, I go to post. They've got these templates, which are just the ads that I had posted in the past. Click on one of those and hit continue. And I'm starting fresh, doing it with a template. So I literally don't have to type in anything here, except for some reason, it always wants me to fill out the qualifications and the application method. And that's because it's trying to push my application method to email, which I do not do.
Okay. Okay. So you can say the template, so you're not doing everything from scratch every time.
Yeah, it'll just automatically let you repost the same job ad.
Okay.
And you can't schedule them out, unfortunately. So I just have to have it in my notes, or have somebody in my office going on Tuesdays and post those for me. And just doing those couple of things, I think you will go from getting a handful of job applicants to getting probably about 100 every time you post one of these.
And you said those are paid ads or the free posting?
Yeah, I always pay for it. So here, I'll kind of just show you my process here. I just grab this application tab. Sorry, I'm on another screen getting my my URL. So get rid of that. Post this here. This is where they're going to apply on the website. Okay, and they fill out the qualifications. Great. And then I go continue. Okay, apparently it wants some more stuff. Yeah, so occasionally they will change things. I'm just putting in whatever random address.
When Indeed asks you for the the recommended amount to bid, are you going off Indeed's recommendation, or are you going less for the amount?
I'm going off the recommendation. I used to mess with it, but I just don't care enough anymore. Okay. So there's the standard, and then there's the premium. I do the premium because they do a little. You can match candidates and whatever. It's decent, but this is the killer: is to run continuously. Screw that. You don't want that. Custom end date. So right now it's Friday, but let's say I'm posting, on Tuesday. I would just find the date and then go, I just want it to end on Friday. So I post on Tuesday. It'll usually take an hour or two to go live. And then I just let it run Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's it. And that'll usually only cost me, it says $400, but it'll usually probably cost me about, $150 for the one ad.
Okay.
And that's it. And that tends to help. So when I post on a Monday or a Sunday, less good. Tuesday seems to be the day. I would say play around with it in your area. Sunday can be good. But Tuesday seems to be the day that works. And I think the psychology of it is, Monday people are kind of getting their chores done, getting caught up from the weekend. Nobody's really applying for jobs on the weekend, even though they're not working. They're still celebrating the weekend with their families, right? And friends. Come Monday, if you're doing household chores, by Tuesday, you're like, okay, I got to find a job now. So it feels like I get way more when I post on a Tuesday morning, and even Tuesday afternoons less. It's always Tuesday morning is when I post. So
do you have a specific time
that I post?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just first thing in the morning. So for me, it's usually about 8 a.m.
Okay.
That's how I'm running Indeed. So we're already kind of 30 minutes through. I don't know if we'll have time to get through all of the everything else. But the other piece is you're using Indeed's hiring system, right? I am not a huge fan of that. I don't like their automations and their systems. So I'll just kind of run you through really quick how I do that.
Yeah, I think a very time-consuming task for the office is that they have to, you can filter, but they still have to vet a little bit, and then they have to manually reach out to everyone about setting up the initial interview.
And that's the crappy part with Indeed. So this is a WordPress website. And it's on a subdomain for me because these forums tend to slow things down. I think lately they haven't been. So you're probably okay to just put this on your WordPress website. Or if you have whatever, Squarespace. I'm sure they have some version of this. This plugin is called Fluent Forms. And I use that intentionally because it formats the phone number and works with Zapier. So what happens is they fill this out, and this has a zap. Well, it's got a couple things. The Fluent form has a quiz built in. That's the other reason I like Fluent Forms. This has a quiz feature that you can put in here that gives each question you ask a score. So if I go into my quiz settings, you can kind of see the max is 165, and that's just arbitrary of me kind of coming up with what works for me. So if they're currently working, I give them 10 points. You could be unemployed or just moved, not working. It's not really going to affect anything. But typically I find that people that are working tend to do a little bit better. How many years? This is I should probably look at my actual cleaners quiz, not my customer service. I've been in this customer service thing for a minute, so it's fresh in my mind. But you can see I'm doing this for all the positions.
So this links from Indeed to your website?
Yeah. So when you're in Indeed, if you go back here, when we're posting a job, there's a point in the post that asks you how you want them to apply. Application method. And it always wants to send it to your email, which is unbearable because it's just 100 emails coming in and it sucks.
That's what we have. So you just put the URL for the Fluent form part. Okay.
Yep. And you have to ask for this. They will not give this to you. Indeed wants you to stay on Indeed. You have to ask customer service to enable an external URL, and they will require you to have like terms of service and a few things, but they will turn it on. But they want you to ask because they don't want you to be skipping out on this, basically. Essentially, these are the questions that I'm asking. What type of experience do you have? Do you have paid cleaning experience? So you were saying that like you were getting people that don't have experience. I was running into that a lot where people would say, oh, I cleaned my house and I've been doing that since I was 5. So I've got 20 years of experience. And it's like, no. So the way you get through stuff like that is asking very specific questions. So what type of cleaning experience do you have? I've worked for a cleaning company. I've cleaned my own customers. I've cleaned for both my own customers and with a cleaning company. I've done mostly janitorial work for a non-cleaning company, meaning like I cleaned a school, right? I've done side work like cleaning restrooms at a restaurant. I gotten that a lot. Like, oh, I cleaned the bathroom at the Starbucks. It's like, that's not the same thing. That's not what I'm looking for. I've mainly cleaned my own home. And then you can see I'm giving points for all of these. So if you've cleaned for customers and with a company, those tend to work out really well for me. So they get 40 points. I've cleaned for just my own customers, 20 points. So there's a range here, and then you could get 0. Same thing with experience. Because I'm using independent contractors, we can't train them. So I want them to have experience and come in with that knowledge already, so I can just throw them out and they can do a great job. And because I can't train, independent contractors, right? So depending on how many years of experience, that's how many points I'm giving, 0 to 50. So I find 3 years is kind of where they've been in it long enough that they can do a good job. Asking if they're allergic to pets. We've had a lot of people that did really, really well, but they're allergic to cats or dogs. And we just don't have a way to guarantee we're not sending them into a situation where they're going to be, affected. So we just need to make sure we have people that, aren't allergic, because it makes it really, really hard for us. Like if we were doing janitorial or business commercial, if we had a branch in our company like that, we could do that. But we just don't. And then, are they a team? Do you have partners, daily access to the internet, reliable transportation? And then, so there's this score, right? You're getting points for these couple of things. Now there's a Zapier integration here as well, where we have hard knockouts. So if, what type of cleaning experience, if they just say they've done side work like at a restaurant, it's just going to, give them, they're not going to get a high score, basically. Actually probably have to update this. These hard knockouts are important. Like if they don't have reliable transportation, which you're running into, if they put a no for that, it doesn't matter what the score is, they're not going to get through. Because like if you're a really great cleaner, but you don't have a car, you can't get to work. And I've been in that situation where they're like trying to Uber and trying to make it work, and it's like you just got to get through that hurdle, right? So
What are the
yeah.
next steps? How did you set up the Zapier integration so if they pass and you want to invite them in for an interview or whatever the next step is, and then what happens if they're not they're not passing on, and do they automatically get a rejection email? Do they get an email saying thanks for your application, you'll hear back from us if we're interested?
So what I'm doing is I'm sending them to Airtable. I'm using Airtable because it's a database based um, Google Sheets basically. And what Airtable allows you to do is update further down the ladder. Whereas with Google Sheets, it's just going to be, we're going to add a row and we can't really go back in and change that row. So I'm using Airtable. And the reason I'm pointing out that I'm using Airtable, not Google Sheets, because I started with Google Sheets. You probably only need Google Sheets at this point. So I wouldn't try to build everything that I built out because this took me weeks. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing, and then I'm going to show you what I would do for you, which is all we're doing is using this webhook to create a table, create a record. And this record just kind of fills in all the information. I got some stuff to update here. As I'm looking at this, things have been changing. And that drops down into here. And my Google Sheet looked very similar to this. So I actually pulled that up here as well, which is we have a score, which is just a bunch of count ifs, like add a point for this, add a point for that. And that's going to give me a score that's just based off their yes or no questions. And that gives me the ability to just kind of read them like this instead of going through their email. And this is where I started with this kind of rudimentary Google Sheet. Now it's on Airtable, but it's basically the same thing. So they get a score from 0 to 200. And based on that score, Airtable allows for automations. When I'm not doing this in Airtable, I'm just doing this in Zapier. So the next step on Zapier would be filter. If they score this much, then send them this email. If they scored this much, then send them this email. Just like a path, right? So the low score email is, thanks for applying with us. We're really excited to get to know you. If you don't hear back within 72 hours, we've gone with another candidate. So it's like a soft rejection. And the reason we say within 72 hours is because when people apply and they find out right away that they didn't get in, some people, not all, but like this 1% of people just get like really angry about it. And then they go write a bad review for us or send us crazy emails or like show up to the office because we're mad. Most people aren't that crazy. Some people do that. So we just send this light, like, if you don't hear from us in 72 hours, assume we didn't go with you. When they do get a good email, or they basically hit the status that we're looking for, then we send them an email that looks like this. Get a 15-minute Zoom interview. Here's the link to use to do a Zoom interview with us. And that would put them on with my office manager, who knows how we interview. And what this saves us from having to do, you'll also notice that there is a text message in here as well. So that text message goes out and an email. We find texting and emailing gets us a way higher rate of getting people into the interviews. And then we set the bar pretty high. So as we're kind of having people apply, you can see. So I'm hiding some of the statuses. So let me get rid of the rejected and the timed out ones. But you'll see as it loads that we reject most people that apply, like a very, very large number. And we just look for this score. So this score is measuring, do you have experience? How much experience? Are you allergic to dogs? Do you have a partner to work with? What type of companies have you worked with? It's looking at all that stuff, but it's mostly just measuring yes or no questions. And availability. Like we ask people specifically, are you available on Friday? And we give a higher score if they're available on Friday, because most of our cleaners take Fridays off and it's our most popular day. So if you want to work on Friday, I can get you more work and we can both make more money, but it's where we struggle with that. Right. And then that's where we kind of fill all this out. That's all this information, how many years of experience, all that stuff. Does all that make sense?
It makes sense. I think I'm a little, or not a little, significantly more tech illiterate than you are. So I would struggle to be able to set this up. So it'd be a big hurdle for me to figure out how to set this up. But that's something I'm going to have to do. Um, I think with the limited time we have left, I'd want to know what the initial interview looks like, and then how your office decides whether or not they're being brought
Yeah.
on for test cleaning or second interview or whatever's next up for you.
Yeah, I want to address the tech literacy thing. When you hire a cleaner, like, do you know how much money a good cleaner who's available 5 days a week can make you per week?
In revenue, I'd say probably our full time cleaners, if they're doing a full reoccurring schedule, bring on maybe like 1,700 and 1,800 a week in revenue. So whatever that comes out to,
Okay.
90,000 a year. So yeah.
How many cleaners are you able to hire right now? Like every quarter or every week? Like, do you know how long it takes you to get one good one?
I haven't tracked that because it's so inconsistent. I would say um, in the past, my goal was maybe one a quarter. Right now, I'm shooting for two.
Okay.
Um, but a lot of it's also dependent on advertising. But that's a different discussion. So
Sure. I was about the same. Before I had all this stuff automated, it took me about 3 months to find a really good cleaner. Once I did this, I went from finding a good cleaner every 3 months to getting a good cleaner about every 2 weeks. So it was like a massive increase. Um, so the quality of the cleaners went up, and my speed to get new cleaners went up both significantly, like 50x. It was a big, big jump for me. Probably not 50x, probably more like 10. But it was like a 10x improvement. And for me, I mean, the cleaning industry as a whole is uh, supply constrained, not demand constrained. Typically, it's been a weird couple of years. I think it's kind of more in the middle right now, but uh, supply constrained means we can only grow when we have cleaners. There are more people that want to have their house cleaned than that want to clean houses. So if you can get really good at finding people who clean houses, you can meet that demand, as opposed to just being like, why am I not growing anymore? I'm saying that to illustrate for you, it does not matter if you're not tech literate. You can hire people who can do this for you. And I'm telling you the steps that you need. Indeed, website form. I'm using a plugin called Fluent Forms that uses Zapier to pipe it into Airtable or into Google Sheets. And the automations for this, I think if you just watch a couple YouTube videos, it's not super complex. A lot of these are just very much click and drag type of stuff. So just knowing that those processes are there, you could either YouTube it yourself or hire somebody to do it. If you go on Upwork, I guarantee you can find somebody. Like, I was struggling with Fluent Forms when I first got into it. I found it a little bit complex. And I was just struggling with other things. I didn't have the time. I found somebody who built out my form for me for like $50. And then I was like, okay, I'll pay you another $50 to connect it to Zapier for me. And he's like, okay. So it cost me like $100. And we're talking about going from being able to add that $1,700 a week of revenue to your bottom line um, every quarter to being able to do that every 2 weeks, which is exponential growth, right? So it's worth it, in my opinion, to go find the people that can do this. And you can do that on Upwork. So if that's the barrier, just hire somebody.
okay. Do you also find that not only you're getting better candidates, but there's less turnover when you've implemented this system?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had pretty low turnover, so our turnover wasn't really affected. The turnover kind of comes in for me in terms of how we treat the customers in that first 90 days. Sorry, customers, the cleaners. The thing that affected my turnover the most was I call them the day before they start and tell them how excited I am for them to start. I call them after their first day and check in with them on how that first day went. And then after the first week, same call. I'm not calling about anything else except for how happy are you? And then first week, yeah, how happy are you? And do you have any questions for me? First week, first month, second month, third month, fourth month. On the second month, they're getting their $200 hiring bonus, which is just a really great positive conversation to have. And on their 90 days, they're getting a raise. So they're taking home a higher percentage as an independent contractor. And we've got this broken up into levels. So we tell them that these are the things that are going to happen during the onboarding. We tell them about the new hire bonus, and we make sure that we're creating these exciting events for them as they're kind of progressing with us. And that keeps them engaged and gives them the opportunity to tell me if they need anything to stay happy and to stay employed, right?
Are you calling them personally still, or is an office member doing that?
Nope. I call them personally.
You sort of.
And my
Okay.
office manager does as well. So we both are making the same phone calls because we
Okay.
want to create a positive environment, let them know that they can reach out to us, and yeah, and all that. So you asked about the interview. The interview is very strategic for me. With Calendly, we're setting up group interviews. We're doing 4 at a time, and we're asking these questions. We do 4 at a time. We let them set them up on their own Calendly interviews because it's about 1 out of 4 don't show up. So we have a 2-hour block. We let them block out 15 minutes at a time, 4 people for every 15 minutes. Occasionally we'll get 2. Most of the time we just get 1. But this allows us to not let people that aren't showing up block out the good people who are, and helps us do a lot more interviews way faster. And we ask these very specific questions. I ask these questions in this order. So what are you doing for work now? Which is just explain to me sort of your history. This is also an opportunity for them to complain about the job that they have right now, which can sometimes give you a red flag. I've had so many people tell me that they're suing their past boss or suing somebody at their old work for some reason. And of course that can be justified, but they'll tell you all kinds of weird dirt, and you can decide what you want to do with that. Past cleaning experience, I just kind of want to hear how they came up in the world. Like, hey, I've been cleaning with my mom since I was 16. I worked for Mary Maids for this many years. Whatever. What do you like to do for fun? Sometimes I will ask this a little bit earlier, but I really want to get them to kind of warm up and talk to me about themselves. I want to know who they are. The trick with all of these questions, and I'll go through a couple of these other ones, but the trick with all these questions is ask why until you kind of have all the answers. So I had a lady who was, she told me for fun, she was an artist. And I always follow up. It doesn't matter what they do. You try to find one little thing. So I have this thing that I do where I will spend like an hour doing just about anything. Like I took an hour-long crocheting class. So I could talk to somebody about the size of their crochet hooks, right? And that doing something for an hour gives you just enough information that you can ask one intelligent question, which will get them the opportunity to talk about it. So for art in particular, the question is usually, what medium do you use? For artists, medium is the type of art. So I'm an artist. Oh, really? Great. What kind of art? What type of medium are you using? I do tattooing. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because most people say they paint or draw with a pen. Mm-hmm. I do tattooing. Like, oh, cool. Like, do you tattoo yourself? Do you tattoo your friends? Oh, I tattoo just myself. And then I was like, oh, so you probably have a lot of tattoos, right? And she's like, oh no, I just have a few, but they're small. And I was like, oh, if I had a tattoo, I'd have like a really big one. And she was like, oh, I do have a big one too. And it's like, okay, I'm pulling teeth here. You're not sharing information. And you went from being not tattooed to being fully tattooed up with giant tattoos, which was a little bit of a red flag to me. Not that she has tattoos. We have, I've hired people with neck tattoos and hand tattoos and all kinds of stuff and they usually do great. Nothing against people with tattoos, but she was hiding stuff from me, right? And wasn't being forthright. There were other red flags, but the asking of why gets you to what you really want to know. And the biggest questions for me is, what motivates you to work hard? A lot of people will say something like, what this person did. This person didn't get hired. I like to take pride in everything that I do. It makes me feel good. Sounds like a good answer, but really, I want your motivation to be external. Say whatever you will, but God doesn't count. I've had people say that too. Oh, I do it. Like the first person I hired said, I do it unto him. Like she's doing it for God. But God, I feel like, is a very personal thing. It's not really external, in my opinion. So that I don't count God as an external factor. I think that's internal. But I want them to say my family, my kids. I'm taking care of my mom, and I just want to make sure I've got a job that gives me the flexibility to take care of her, and like she took care of me when I was young. Love those types of answers that are related to family, because they are going to go do this job, this very difficult job, and they're going to prioritize the stability of taking care of the family and getting paid well for it over, you know, um, I want to make more money, or I'm just happy. I just take pride in what I do. It's like, that's not really motivation. It's kind of shallow, right? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This person says, I want to go back and be to school and be a personal trainer. I usually accept going back to school in 5 years. Like I want to become a nurse or a trainer, but typically I don't know is the best answer. The reason I don't know is the best answer is because that means that they are going to be comfortable where they're at and be with us for the long term. And then this final question, what are you looking for in work, is important to me because that informs not only what they're going to be expecting from us as a job, but this is what's going to educate you and fill you in on everything that you need to put in that job ad. Because the people that are really, really good, you're going to notice they have similar things. I want to be able to drop my kids off at school and pick them up. I want to have flexibility. I want to, whatever. That's what you need in your job ad, because that's literally they're telling you what they're looking for. So you can put that right there and make sure you give it to them.
I have a question about the motivation.
Sure.
I've hired people in the past that said, their motivation is they like the customer satisfaction aspect, something along those lines. Is it a red flag for you if the motivation is internal? My thought process has always been, I think it's definitely a better sign when they have an external motivation. But sometimes people are just nervous in interviews and they're not really sure what to say. They may not have necessarily the interview skills to know how to answer that question. Is it an absolute red flag for you, or is it just something to note?
I mean, everything's in context, So for me, I feel like it's a red flag. I'm not gonna say red flag, but if everything else is good, but they're just like, because I think the first two cleaners I had, the one lady was, I do it unto God, and the other lady is, everything I do it well, And one of them, the lady who did it unto God, did not work out well, but she was also crazy. There was other weird things. Ladies is just like, I just do everything really well. Like, that's just what I do. She said it with so much confidence. She actually was one of my best cleaners, and I worked with her for like 5 years. So I'm also not really worried about that. But everything's in context. You ask all these couple of questions and you will get a good idea for who they are. But like you said, people interview well or they don't. So the next step from this is have them do something for you. So whether you're hiring for customer service or sales or whatever. For cleaners, I've got a remote location. I've got a location where I live. In the remote location, I have them call me at a different time because I want to give them an assignment and I want to test if they can be true to their word and keep a schedule, especially if they're remote. So I say, pick a time tomorrow to give me a call. They'll say, I'll call you at 2 p.m. I put it on my calendar. They're going to call me at 2 p.m. Catherine's going to call me and I wait for that call. I do not send them a reminder. I don't text them. I don't check in with them at all. But if they don't call me right at 2 p.m., then I'm not hiring them. And you would be surprised how many people call you at 1 p.m. Be like, okay, I'm calling. I'm like, you're not supposed to call me till 2 p.m. It's like, but I just thought I would just call a little early. It's like, no, I want you to keep the schedule. Or they'll just straight up forget. Because if they forget during this process, they're going to forget when they're getting paid for it. And for people where I live, I have them come and clean my house. So I have them clean a portion of my house. We do a demo cleaning. I pay them for the demo cleaning, but I can see now, are they showing up? Do they know how to clean? I've had people just show up and they just reek of cigarette smoke. And we're selling clean houses to people. And it's not a good look if you're walking in and stinking up a house. Just having them do something for you. If it's sales, I ask them about their previous job and have them sell me that thing. And I do improv with them. I do a little bit of role playing. Okay, you sold cars? Like, hey, I'm looking for a new Ford. What do you got? And just see how they go through that process. Same thing with customer service. For my customer service applicants, during the interview process in the online form, I have them answer a very difficult customer email so I can see how they're going to answer difficult customer emails and what I'm going to have to train or not train. And if they go through that, then we do the background checks, onboarding contracts, all that type of stuff. So that's the full process that I'm putting people through. Does it work every time? No. Even doing as much as I'm doing, we still get some duds, we still get some lemons. But after that, after they get hired, you just have to keep track of how well they're doing and get rid of them if they're not doing well. And when I say get rid of them, be nice, give them warnings, give them feedback, share the feedback with them as quick as you can. Make sure that loop, the feedback loop, is quick. So if a customer complains, you call them right away. This customer complained. And I usually do it in the form of, what can you tell me about this customer? Okay, this customer said this. Not accusatory, just we're trying to get to the bottom of something. We're trying to learn lessons together. But if you wait a week to call them, not good. They're not going to remember the client at all. They're just going to know that you're mad at them, and they're just going to put it in the back of their mind, right? So short feedback loop. When I'm getting ready to fire them, I'll have them sign a contract saying, I'm going to fire you in 90 days. If you don't do this, this is how I'm going to measure it. This is what I want you to do. Called the performance improvement plan. I'm sure you've heard of those before. But we want to make sure that, especially if they leave and they go on unemployment, we can say, no, we had a conversation with them on this date. They signed this paper. This is their signature. They knew that they were going to get fired if they showed up to work late, and they showed up to work late again. And that way we can be fair to our cleaners, treat them with respect, give them that short feedback loop that gives them the opportunity to learn. But if not, get rid of them. And I would say, even with everything that I'm doing, especially right now, it's about 1 out of every 3 that really works out long term.
That you actually bring on board, that clean your house, and it's 1 out of 3 from there. Okay.
Yeah, and they're usually good at this point, but we really need people that are great. Like, the difference between you growing your company and the company being stagnant might be a B+ cleaner versus an A+ cleaner. A+, you're going to grow, and those customers are going to refer people. Everyone's going to be so happy. They're going to become reoccurring customers and stick with you for years. If they're B+, it's like, I don't know if it's worth the money. And as soon as there's an opportunity to cut, they will.
Sure.
The thing that we look for a lot of times when we're monitoring if these cleaners are working out is, are they getting complaints? Like, is anybody complaining about this customer? But the reality is, you will have those. You will have people that are so bad that you just clearly have to get rid of them, and customers are complaining. But most customers that have a bad experience, despite how many bad reviews we read and all this other stuff, they just won't say anything. They'll just quietly disappear. So the metrics that I track is, how often are they getting reviews, and how often are customers canceling their reoccurring service with this cleaner? And Launch 27, Booking Koala do not keep track of these. You have to keep track of it on your own. But those 2 metrics will revolutionize how you're looking at your cleaners, because it's the hidden data. Cleaners who are really, really good, about 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of every 2 or 3 will leave a positive review. When cleaners aren't good, they're only going to get a review about every 10 times they clean. So, 1 out of 10, they get a 5-star review. It looks like they're doing a good job, but the ones who are really, really good are getting a 5-star review every other house.
Are you using Booking Koala emails and texts, or just emails for the internal reviews?
This is a bigger conversation, but I use a tool called Birdeye for following up with text messages and emails for reviews, and then we call every customer
After the initial clean.
After the initial cleaning. So if it's reoccurring, we don't call them every time because they get annoyed. But one-time cleanings, move outs, just about everybody we call.
Okay, so you are sending, though, after the initial clean, not just the email, you're sending the text as well, on an automated text. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Booking Koala's email and text works fine. Calling is even better. But like I said, the signal is, they will be excited to tell you when they had a really good experience. They will ignore you if they had a bad one. And that's most customers. Most customers are not abrasive enough to call and have a conflict over the phone and educate us on what we could do better. That's only a small percentage of the ones that have bad experiences. Everybody else will just kind of quietly go away. And you got to look for the quietly going aways.
So I know you mentioned the 90-day period, but let's say the test cleaning goes well, everything else went well, the first and then the first day they show up on time, but they get bad feedback from a customer, their first cleaning. Is that immediately okay? It's time to move on to someone else.
I give them a second chance. But once again, same rules. Like we are going, like once they're in, they're in. Um, if it's their first cleaning and they did a bad job, I would take that very seriously and be keeping an eye on them, because we've had people that we had to get rid of within a couple of weeks. But you got to give the benefit of the doubt that they might have walked into an unlucky situation. I will say almost every cleaner I've ever hired has some issue in the first week, and that usually comes down to them learning how we operate. You know, a lot of cleaners are coming from traumatic experiences. That's why this "we respect you" thing in my job ad works so well, is because they come from places that will just yell at them when they mess up. So we have to teach them in these moments that it's okay to mess up, that we're going to talk to you about it. We're going to give you feedback. We just want you to communicate with us and take the feedback and do better next time.
A lot of helpful information. A lot of work for me to do, but it'll make a lot less work for me long term. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and that's the hard part. Is this is what I want you investing in as a business owner in general. Like, what are the high leverage things that you can do that, yeah, this is going to take you weeks and weeks to build out, but once you get it done, it'll make everything else smoother for the rest of eternity. It's a good place to spend your time as a business owner, just universally. If you don't have time to learn how to do something, just hire somebody. It'll usually be cheaper than making mistakes on your own and having to take time to learn. And then the last piece too is this hiring process that I walked you through. For me, it took me 4 or 5 years. And this was starting a little piece of this, like, okay, we're going to have them apply on the website, and I'm just going to have that website dump it into a Google Sheet. That's all I was doing for the first like year or two. But even that 10x'd what I was doing. And then I went to, okay, now I'm going to email and text them after they apply. Oh, and now I'm going to include the Calendly link in there so they can just put on my schedule. Oh, now I'm going to shrink that Calendly link down to 2 hours, 15-minute blocks, group interviews, and all of those things. It was like 6 months in between all those learning experiences. You don't have to build this all out at once. I would say do what's going to work for you now. And by the time you feel that pressure again to upgrade and to do it a little different, you kind of know what it looks like. You can start building that out again. So you don't have to do it all, because this whole process took me a long time to learn and figure out. And I wouldn't have needed it when I was at 250,000. I didn't need this. You know, we weren't getting the call volume where if we hired 2 people a week that we could actually keep them busy and support them. Right. So you just have to work for where you are and take your time to do it, because it'll take time.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds lovely, Ryan. Appreciate your time.
Cool, Drew. Well, hey, cheers to Prairie Maids. I'm looking forward to hearing about the success and the growth. So check back in with me and let me know kind of where you're at when you get there.
Okay. Will do, Ryan.
And then for me, what was the most helpful for you kind of going through this process?
Off the top of my head was actually visually seeing your questionnaire, seeing your Zapier's. That was very useful just to see how it works. It, like I said, tech literate, but it didn't seem overly scary. It just seems like something I have to take some time to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all these tools are very click and drag, so you can get there. I promise.
Good stuff.